buy something and bolt it on or weld it up and fabricate it yourself, I don't think there is anybody else better on YouTube to talk about this with than Nate from Dirt Lifestyle. And today on this episode of Coffee One Take, we're just going to let the camera roll. We're going to kind of catch up on some things, and then we're going to talk about bolting it on versus fabricating. Stay tuned. Welcome to TrailRecon. I'm Brad, and today we are out here in the Anza Borrego Desert, and I'm here with my good friend Nate from Dirt Lifestyle. Man, it's so good to catch up with you, dude. It has been so cool being out here.
It has been awesome. It's been great. It's we just pretty much picked up where we left off. It's been 7 months or so, probably,
Right.
maybe more. And it's definitely great to be back down here and hanging out.
Yeah, and I'm camping here last night. So we are in Anza Borrego. We camped last night here in Sandstone Canyon. Dude, what do you think about this place?
It's amazing, and we couldn't have asked for a more perfect night or morning.
Oh, yeah.
No wind, no bugs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's just it's probably mid-60s right now.
Yeah.
Good cup of coffee. No coffee for you, Nate. I don't know, man. This is Coffee One Take, buddy. No coffee for you.
No coffee for me. I wouldn't stop talking. You'd run out of video.
Yeah. So before I want to take a deep dive and talk about bolting on, which is typically what I do, although there's a little small fabrication involved. But you do a lot of fabrication, but you do some bolt on. But before we talk into that, I want to catch up on some stuff, as we both just come back from pretty big, epic trips.
Yep.
Where did you just come back from? I mean, less than 24 hours ago, right?
Yeah. We went to Baja, Mexico. I'd never been, and it was an epic trip. I've like your trip. We've both got a lot of footage to edit.
Yeah. What did you think about being down there in Mexico?
It was great. I mean, the people are outstanding.
Yeah.
You know, I was I'm so far away from Mexican culture, because I was very intimidated because the stories that you hear are, they can be scary. But the people down there are so nice, and the experience was amazing. It was beautiful, and it was very cool to just get out of my comfort zone and just go and explore. It's like that's. We have the explore bug, so It's nice to be able to go and do that.
You were down there wheeling, you were down there filming?
I was down there filming.
So full video coming on that?
Full video coming,
That's
absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I just got back from Death Valley about 72 hours ago. We were out there for just over 4 days. And man, I got to tell you, I have a whole new perspective on Death Valley. I've been out there a few times, but I hadn't been to the northern part of Death Valley. And we were up in the snow. And then we were down in the barren desert, all within a single day. It was just so cool. So I would love to take you out there sometime in Death Valley, man.
Absolutely, that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay, we are out here. I'm driving my Jeep, and Nate is driving his Tacoma. And I was checking out the Tacoma, and I've been watching your videos on what you've been doing. And there are some things that you've bolted on, and some things that you have built yourself. And so I really want to talk a little bit about bolt-on versus fabrication, because I mean, let's be honest. We're definitely different on how we approach our vehicles. I usually just find what fits best and try to bolt it on, but we'll dive into that in a minute. But you just creating your own thing, trying to figure out how to make it best work for you. So talk a little bit about those sliders on your Tacoma. Well, before you do that, how did you even get into fabrication?
So I got into fabrication pretty much out of necessity, but I mean also just out of well, I guess it would be necessity too. The need to build stuff.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I loved taking things apart and putting it back together. So there's always like a mechanic gene. My dad doesn't even own tools. It's not like I got it from him.
Yeah.
I just had an interest in how things worked. And then once I got into high school and I got into cars and stuff, I mean, I loved starting to wrench on my own cars. Yeah. And then after high school, I got my first 4x4, and I was doing the bolt-on thing at first, but I started buying parts, and we've all been there, where the quality is not at all what your expectations were. And so I really wanted to learn how to weld and whatnot. I was like 20, maybe 19, somewhere in there. And I was working with a guy who was selling an old welder for $180, and I was like, deal. So I bought this really crappy welder and learned how to start fabricating stuff with that old crappy welder, and then it all just took off from there. Right. So it was basically out of necessity to build the stuff that I wanted that either wasn't on the market because no one was working on a S10 Blazer or K5 Blazer, whatever it is that I was working on, or again, we've all bought stuff that we weren't very happy with, and I know that I have high work quality, but sometimes you buy something because it's a good deal and it doesn't have high craftsmanship, and so it's just a combination of things.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've started back, when I had Mustangs and hot rods or whatever, and it seems like all the vehicles that I have, there's so much aftermarket support that I've just always been, I like how that fits, I'm going to bolt that on, and that works for me. And while I've tinkered with a welder, and I had this strong desire to eventually sit down and buy a welder and teach myself to weld, I've just never got into it. But I get so inspired by watching your videos, man, because
Thank you.
You not only do you just make it look cool from your videos, but you make it look like, you know what, if I bought a welder, I think I could do that, and so I think it's really cool that you do that. Now, the Tacoma, which I started to mention, is you've got a mix of bolt-on and stuff that you fabricated. Now, the Tacoma has so much aftermarket support out there. There's a ton of stuff. You could buy and bolt on just about anything you need for that. Why did you choose to make your own rock sliders?
Well, there's a few reasons. I can make a set of rock sliders pretty quickly and pretty cheaply, and I knew that this was going to be rock slider version 1.0 because the build is going to be pretty wild. But right now, it's just trying to get all the parts that I need, suspension-wise, to make it wild. The rock sliders that I want to build that are in my head are too wild for a stock Tacoma.
Okay.
It would stick out really far, and it would look ridiculous. Okay. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to build just a rock slider version 1.0 to make sure I can go through this trip without just like destroying the body.
Right.
I got a little bit of body damage, which you guys will see in my video, but without just destroying the body. And then once I widen it and put 35s on it and all this other stuff, I can build some rock sliders that are going to match that situation. So, that's the long and short of it. But like my Discovery, I have a 2003 Land Rover Discovery, and because the aftermarket support just isn't as big, I've pretty much built everything from the ground up on that, just out of necessity. But with this build, I don't want to do that. I want it to be usable really quickly, and the best way to do that is just getting parts that have already been engineered, parts that bolt directly in place, and you can just, instead of it taking me 3 weeks to build a suspension, we can install one in a weekend.
Right.
So there's pros and cons to both sides of it.
Okay, so let's get in the nuts and the bolts here for a second. Those rock sliders. So how long did it take you to just kind of in your head think about, that's what I'm going to build? I mean, we're talking like...
Oh, to like design them?
The morning over breakfast, you're like, this is what I'm going to do?
I didn't. I mean, I've been fabricating so long, it was like, I've got the material. And so I just go out there and I was like, I figure I'd probably connect to the frame in like 3 different locations. Okay. And that design, that slider design has been around forever. Right. I did not have, it's just one tube with another one bent around to match it. And then you have a couple pieces connecting it. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. It's super simple, and that's a quick way to do it. And so that's how I started pulling measurements, and then I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna start here, cut this, and then I'll just bend, and for me, it all just goes together because
that's where experience comes in, right?
Yeah.
So for a guy like me that's never made a set of rock sliders, I would probably be, I'd probably have like 6 or 7 different blueprints or coffee bread over, I'm sitting there trying to do over coffee in the morning trying to figure that out. But for you, it just, but it is one of those.
It's things, experience, right? Yeah. Well, and there's other things too. I mean, I was a journeyman tradesman. I was a plumber for 15 years. And all that kind of stuff where you're working with your hands for a living, like it makes it to where it all goes together for me now, right. So it's just years of experience that make it to where you can just go out and just build and not even really think of it. It really does. I feel honestly like I can just put a podcast in and it just builds itself. The only reason I stop is to talk to the camera and make a video about it. But I think sliders are a great way to start fabricating because it is a relatively simple project, and I talk about this all the time. Your safety isn't jeopardized if you mess them up.
Right.
Whereas it's like, I've had people that want to start by building a roll cage, and I'm like, that's not the place to do it. Yeah. You need to get a lot of hours on your welding machine and have a really good understanding of what is and isn't strong before you start to weld safety equipment. But if you're building like off-road bumpers and sliders and stuff, those are great places to start.
Sure.
And you can take as long as you want, unless you're me and I got a video out that week.
Well, right.
But your average Joe, it's like if you're just getting into fabricating and you want to, eventually you will be saving a lot of money doing it, but initially you've got to buy all the tools and whatnot.
Yeah.
Then starting with these kinds of projects is perfect, or just a skid plate even, just something simple.
So what would you say were, you mentioned tools, so the biggest expense for building those rock sliders, you had to buy the material, which is not, how much do you think you spent on material for those rock sliders?
Man, the prices fluctuated so much probably a little over $100. Okay. For steel, a little over $100 probably. But for, paint is so much more expensive than I always think it is. And so, I mean, it could be easy like 50, 60 bucks in paint.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
And then what tools did you need? I mean, if the average guy's like, I'm going to build some of those rock sliders,
Yeah.
I need to have this and this and this. What are the basic tools that you need to build those?
To get started fabricating, you need tape measure, you need an angle grinder with the cutoff wheel, and you need a welder.
Okay.
And you could do it with 110. I mean, you could literally buy all those things at Harbor Freight.
Right.
And I have built things out of Harbor Freight welders.
Yeah.
I mean, my whole Jeep front axle, when I welded all those brackets on there like 12 years ago, was all done with a Harbor Freight welder.
Right.
It's all just electricity and wire. So it's like, it doesn't matter the brand. The brand will make it more reliable, and it will make it easier to get parts. But at the end of the day, you're just using electricity from your house, and you're sticking stuff together with it.
So you can probably pick up the angle grinder welder. Most people already have a tape measure. $300-400 at Harbor Freight.
If you're gonna go cheap, you definitely could.
So you're in those rock sliders. If you're right out of the box, had to buy all that stuff up front, $400-500 total.
You could definitely do it for $400-500 if you're picky about like where.
Right.
If you shopped around for the material, you did the 20% Harbor Freight coupon and whatnot. I mean, you could do it for that, and then you own the tools, and now you can build a skid plate or you can build a bumper, and we all know those things get real expensive, you know.
Yeah, because a pair of rock sliders, if you bought those for that Tacoma, $1,000 probably, $800.
Everything's always more expensive than I think it would be. I would think, I don't know, like $400, but then I look it up online, it's like $1,000.
Yeah.
It's bumpers are that way too.
Yeah.
I mean, you could spend $2,000 on a good bumper.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the bumper. So the bumper on there you didn't make.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to buy a bumper for the Tacoma?
And originally I was going to build it. I wanted this built, first off, I wanted the Tacoma to be a lot more relatable because I feel like sometimes I go so deep into metal fab, like with my Disco Discovery for the layman folk, that it's like I don't want to lose people in the process where it's like, man, this is just getting, I mean, fabrication for like suspension components and stuff, you can get so deep into the weeds with that, with geometry and all this stuff. So with the Tacoma, I wanted some stuff to be bolt-on. Originally I was going to build a bumper that was a steel cradle essentially that holds the winch with an aluminum skin. And after I did my first video saying that I was going to be building a Toyota Tacoma, I had a whole bunch of companies contact me. Even though I said I'm going to be building a bumper, like 3 or 4 bumper companies contacted me.
Sure. that's
And the first one, I was like, that's not what I'm doing. That's not what I'm doing. And then this company called Backwood Adventure Mods hit me up, and I looked at their bumper. I'm like, that is so close to what I was going to build.
Right.
And I could just bolt it on a weekend. Sometimes the temptation is just too great.
Right.
And so it was a great design, and so I was like, you know what, let's do it. And I knew that I wanted to modify their design a little bit because I myself like a bull bar. I've been like the last 2 years I've been going through a bull bar phase. And so it's an aluminum skin that I just put 2 little bends in a piece of tube and some dimple dies and whatnot to make it my own. But for the most part, that is just a bolt-on bumper.
Yeah.
And that's actually, while we're talking about that is a great way to start fabricating too, is to buy something that is close to what you want and then just tweak it.
Yeah.
Make small changes, whether it's shape the edges of the bumper with an angle grinder or buying a dimple die for $70 and just putting some dimple dies in it to make it look more off-road.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, let's be honest, a lot of bolt-on stuff, even sometimes whether you like it or not, is going to require that, right? I can't even... There are very, very few projects where I can think where I've bought something and it was going to bolt on and it just fit
all
perfectly.
the holes line up.
All the holes lined up. Everything fit the panels. I mean, I know manufacturers do their best to make some of that, but I think sometimes you're just like, nope, this isn't going to fit. I got a jerry rig, and I try to share that on the channel. I'm like, look, guys, this is a bolt on, but sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you got to have some tools when you go there, more than just a wrench and stuff. I haven't needed to break out a welder yet. But sometimes bolt-on isn't just bolt-on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people, they don't just buy brand new. A lot of people will buy something used, and it bolted on. This guy's rigged great, but then they beat the crap out of it, and, things tweaked and shifted, and now it's not going to fit your stuff exactly. So having the ability to auger out a hole, I mean, it's not as simple as bolt on. You can't just get a wrench kit and bolt stuff on. A lot of times there will be drilling. A lot of times there will be a little bit of mild cutting or whatever in order to make a bolt-on kit work. So that's mild fabrication.
Yeah, and the one thing that a lot of folks don't take into consideration, and I see the frustration from people, but manufacturers, when they make a product, when they make a bumper or something, they make that product to work on a stock vehicle. And so if you've already done modifications to your vehicle, and now you add another, you buy this other product, and you expect it to just bolt on with everything that you already have, manufacturers don't take into account, well, they're using this blah, blah, blah with that blah, 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 and this isn't going to fit with those. And so then you're going to be forced to modify things. So the more you modify your vehicle, the more you're going to have to fabricate how things fit together. So
I think a great example that I know a lot of people have ran into is you get like Genrite fenders, and then you get like, I don't know, worn sliders. And it's like the shape of the slider and the fender don't exactly meet up. And so you can break it, you can solve that problem by breaking out an angle grinder with a cutoff wheel and being real delicate in the way you shape things. And you can shape metal to fit together and then just repaint it or whatever. And so, I mean, that's the freedom that comes with having basic fabrication tools, is that you are going to be better at bolting on too. And I mean, we all start somewhere. I started that way. I started and I mean, it's been a long time now, but I started where it was just you're bolting on stuff because it's like the only way, and then you pick up a drill because you have to, or you pick up an angle grinder when you have to, and then it's slowly over time you start getting more comfortable with the tools, and then you get a welder from a buddy or whatever the situation may be, and before you know it, you're I don't know if everyone gets to fabricating up as much stuff as I do, but that's how it worked for me. Is eventually you just kind of naturally rolled into this.
Well, okay, so, dude, how about this sunrise that's going on right now?
It is beautiful.
This is amazing, but we're going to get blasted with the sun. This is, you guys, this is beautiful out here. Okay, so you're gonna go home. You still got more work to do on the Tacoma.
I do.
What fabrication is next on the Tacoma?
Well, fabrication, I'm definitely going to build my own rear bumper. I want to build something high clearance and something lightweight, so I'll do an aluminum rear bumper. And then, I mean, I'm just accumulating parts. It needs suspension so bad. And it's going to need, after this trip, it's going to need bump stops. I was telling you about that. All of the soft bumps by the end of the trip are all allowed taps now, so I think that I'm going to need a plan for that. But this was like, this is my last trip in stock form, essentially. And when it reemerges from my shop, it's going to be on 35s, front locker. I'm going to do the gears myself. I'm going to you know, be doing some more fabrication. I'm going to do a roof rack, a whole bunch of stuff. So that's what's coming up for the Tacoma.
All building it yourself?
Not all.
Not all. Okay, so
there's going to be some.
Good.
The roof rack's going to be bolt on. Because you know, building a roof rack is a really big undertaking. People don't realize how hard it is to make a good looking roof rack.
They can support weight.
And so I don't want. I've done roof rack videos, so if people are interested, they can go check that out. But sometimes it's better to just let the engineers do the work for you, and to just get something that you can trust, especially if you're early in your fabrication days. You know, so I'm going to be bolting on the roof rack. I would like to fabricate an aluminum bed rack of some kind, and then I'm definitely going to fab aluminum rear bumper. And to be honest, the sliders I just built are going to come off of there. I mean, once I have 35s, I'm going to build the actual sliders I want to build. So that was
you could probably sell those and recoup way more than you put into them.
if I didn't destroy Mexico,
I can't wait to see your Mexico video.
Me too.
Okay, what's coming up on Dirt Lifestyle? What do you got planned for future trips and stuff?
Oh man, this year is going to be trips galore. So if you're into adventure content, definitely tune in for that. Well, you and I are going to be doing some stuff. We're definitely going to be meeting up at Easter Jeep Safari.
100%.
And I want to do some trips this year where you and I are just hanging out, just being people. But I also want to do some trips where we document it and share it with these guys. So there'll be a combination of that kind of stuff. I've got EJS coming up. I'm going to be going to Texas in June, and then at some point you're going to come up to Washington.
Yes, sir.
And I think I might just plan that trip and have Brad just meet me somewhere, and he doesn't know what's going to happen.
Dude, I am 100% in. I cannot wait to get up to the Pacific Northwest. You know, I was stationed up there in the military for years, but I never had a chance to kind of do any wheeling, and so I'm all in, dude, to follow you around in the woods and go get muddy and
I can't wait.
Go do some fishing. And
I cannot wait to get you on my turf. And we'll definitely be eating salmon, and we'll do all like the Pacific Northwest stuff.
Right on. Okay, man. Well, buddy, this has been just I can't remember last time I had just a nice, relaxing time at camp. I mean, the weather was perfect. I mean, I've been camping in the freezing cold for the last couple of months, dude. And last night, it was just like, oh, how nice is this? And it's beautiful, the sunrise. We're going to go hit the trail a little bit more today and just kind of chill, have some more coffee. But thanks for coming out, man. It's been good to see you, dude. And we'll definitely be hooking up here soon.
Absolutely.
The end of the month at EJS. So keep an eye out for us guys down at Easter Jeep Safari. If you are not following Nate on Dirt Lifestyle, go over there, follow his channel. He's got, man, I I binge watch some of your stuff sometimes, man. I'm like, gosh, I just love watching you build this stuff. It's so cool, and definitely go check it out. And whether or not you are, you're leaning towards the bolt-on or you're leaning towards the fabrication side, you're gonna learn something on his channel. So definitely go check that out. And look, we've got a lot more video content coming here. I just got back from Death Valley, so I don't even know when this video is gonna go up, but that video will be out soon. And until next time. Dude, I need more coffee. It's coffee one take. I almost made it. But it's coffee one take, guys. We don't edit on coffee one take. I got the sun in my eyes. I got my good friend here laughing at me. I got coffee. We'll see you in the next video, guys. Have a good one.
See you later.